Welcome back to Panda Audiobooks. Jian Wushuang has silenced the jealous seniors and now reaps the rewards of his spectacular victories at the Sky Mountain Academy. In our last episode, Wushuang completely crushed the coordinated attack, cementing his status as the undisputed new genius. Today, it's time for the power upgrade. Chapters 33 through 36 follow Wushuang as he uses his newfound prestige and merit points to access restricted, forbidden grounds, likely a hidden cultivation cave or a secret library. He discovers a powerful new technique or a rare heavenly resource that promises a massive breakthrough. Watch as Wushuang attempts to absorb this power, pushing his heavenly creation skill to its limits and leaping forward in cultivation realms, preparing him for the dangerous new mission that awaits outside the academy walls. The next level of power is within reach. Chapter 33 begins now. Chapter 33. Confusion. Hua! A dazzling bloody sword light swept directly out. Killing intent began to emerge and rise. Sword-killing movement. Bai Chong stood up instantly, stunned by this dazzling bloody sword light, and said, "The second move of the formless sword art, sword-killing movement." He managed to put it to good use. Sword-killing movement. Shui Hanshin was also surprised by this, apparently knowing the prestige of the second formless sword art, sword-killing movement. "Shui Hanshin, hurry up. Help your disciple," said Bai Chong. Lowering her eyesight slightly, Shui Hanshin gazed at the two nearly colliding sword lights in the arena and sighed in frustration. She moved quickly. Clang! Having collided with each other in the arena, the two horrifying sword lights instantly witnessed victory and defeat. What? Yi Mo, with his eyes wide open, found it rather hard to believe that the most powerful attack, with all of his strength, had been totally defeated without any struggle. Then the dazzling bloody sword light, still concentrating all its power, hacked straight towards him. An unprecedented crisis of death immediately shrouded him. Shui Hanshin's figure suddenly flashed in front of him at the last second, and the bloody sword light dissipated with just the wave of a hand. Only complete silence remained in the arena. Yi Mo clenched his teeth, gazing firmly at Jian Wushuang, his heart full of unwillingness. He accepted this defeat unwillingly and helplessly. After all, he knew clearly that he would have died if his great master had not given him a hand. Such a terrifying sword stroke could easily tear his body apart. At this moment, Jian Wushuang gazed past Yi Mo. He was suffering great agony from using the soul-devouring secret skill. Even his face looked extremely ferocious. This skill was far more fearful than he ever imagined. It reached the extreme limit in only a short amount of time. BZZZZ. The soul-devouring secret skill ceased spontaneously, and the soaring aura around Jian Wushuang faded away rapidly, even to an ignorable extent. Jian Wushuang could not be more feeble, and his entire body was trembling. On the contrary, his inner unyielding willpower was the source of standing still. When he raised his eyes, the triple-kill sword in his hand headed precisely towards Shui Hanshin. Unconvinced. Then fight. The rising sword essence suddenly erupted. It was this moment that impressed the entire audience on the drill ground. They all saw how Jian Wushuang had become so weak, yet the battle intent and sword essence around him never faded away. Shui Hanshin's complexion was pale and cold. She was already overwhelmed with helplessness. Fight back? How is this possible? Since it stemmed from the conflicts between Jian Wushuang and Jian Menge, Yi Mo had helped the defeated Jian Menge, which was far too excessive. A putative second fight was not only excessive but extremely shameless. As one of the elders of the Qianyuan sword sect and an expert at the peak of the Gold Core realm, Shui Hanshin had somewhat retained her gentility and self-respect. Menge. Shui Hanshin glanced at Jian Menge with a pale face and stupefied expression. She said, "You have no choice but to cultivate with me in the Qianyuan sword sect from now on, and are forbidden to step outside for 3 years, during which I will promptly teach you all my skills." Suddenly Jian Menge was astonished, showing a very complicated look. But then she let out a deferential, "Yes," nodding her head. Jian Wushuang. Shui Hanshin gazed coldly back at Jian Wushuang. "You won today. It only shows that there are some limitations on teaching my disciple, not for a shortage of some more exceptional disciples in my Qianyuan sword sect." In 3 years we will witness another competition between you and Menge. Another competition in 3 years. A slow sly smile crept at the corner of Jian Wushuang's mouth. He looked Jian Menge up and down, then snickered silently. Jian Wushuang himself was deeply aware of it. Jian Menge had been defeated by someone not even qualified to compete. After all, the gap between them was bound to increase because what he had been cultivating was the heavenly creation skill. Silently turning as if Jian Menge had no presence, he headed downstairs slowly. Any time. An icy utterance came from Jian Wushuang, resounding throughout the drill ground. Everyone focused on the heavy footsteps below as if each individual step was terrifically tough. Everyone could feel how the existing sword essence was growing more and more powerful with each step. Nowadays, from the perspective of the audience, Jian Wushuang was spontaneously endowed with something peculiar. No one could figure out what it was exactly. As Jian Wushuang's figure gradually disappeared from their sight, they were all amazed at the strong soaring sword essence. There were no words, only silence. On one of the top floors of the arena tower, 4 figures stood still. The 4 seniors looked very ancient. The gray-haired leader wore a long robe. The 4 great elders of Sword Pavilion. The senior leader with a long robe was the impressive Elder Hong. On such a critical day, a decisive time for the Sword Pavilion, Jian Wushuang hadn't let the 4 elders down, even growing enough to create a miracle. He had defeated Jian Menge with only 2 months of cultivation. Such an unprecedented achievement was surely a great shock within the Sword Pavilion, even to these 4. However, the 4 elders stood still, more depressed than ever before. Deep misgivings, rather than any joy, emerged on their withered faces. With a low voice, one of the elders said, "Brother, I assume you see it." Nodding, Elder Hong concentrated on Jian Wushuang's back, his eyes never leaving it. Despite being tired physically and mentally, he still stands firm and tense. Sword essence surges upwards, but never disperses. The awakening of sword soul, the same as our pavilion master. Absolutely. Once they heard the awakening of sword soul, their looks suddenly became respectful and earnest. Meanwhile, Elder Hong looked up at the immense sky and wondered how the previously sunny day somehow now showed a hint of darkness. Elder Hong lifted up his hand, covering the upward universe, and slowly uttered, "Oh, it's about to change." Chapter 34, Scarlet Kill Command. The annual Sword Marquis Token battle was over. In the battle, the exceptional genius Jian Menge, who everyone had been expecting to win, had shown remarkable talent. However, to everyone's surprise, she had been completely overshadowed by someone else. 2 months prior, Jian Wushuang had been an untalented normal person. But now, only 2 months later, he had become the victor in the battle. Not only did he defeat Jian Menge, but he even defeated Jian Menge's senior brother, Yi Mo, who had achieved the exceptional spiritual sea realm. A real genius. More than a monster. The whole Sword Marquis mansion and even the whole Bashui Commandery were talking about him with great relish. In the Bashui Commandery County, an old man in a grey robe with silver-white hair walked alone through the streets. It was Elder Hong. He came to a deserted alley. In this alley, there was a shabby wine shop that had been there for years, but no one came here to buy wine. The whole wine shop had only one person, the proprietress. Elder Hong walked into the wine shop and looked at the proprietress standing behind the counter. Without saying anything, he walked directly into the inner hall to wait. After a while, the old woman, the proprietress of the wine shop, came in gracefully. "How long has it been since you've been here, blind old man?" 2 years. The middle-aged woman smiled. "I came here today for something important," Elder Hong said with dignity. "Why didn't you stop by when you were free?" "You are a little ungrateful," the woman said this with a weak smile, and then asked, "What's the matter?" Elder Hong took a deep breath and said, "The young master has awakened the sword soul." "What?" A moment ago, the woman had been very calm. Her face immediately became extremely solemn. Jian Wushuang would have been very surprised if he had heard the term that Elder Hong used. He had always been known as Young Pavilion Master, but now he'd become the Young Master. Sword Soul. The soul of the sword ancestor. The woman said solemnly, "I am very surprised that after the master awakened the sword soul, the young master also awakened his own sword soul. Both father and son awakening sword soul simultaneously, that is almost inconceivable." "It is incredible, but it happened," Elder Hong said. "Although awakening sword soul has great benefits, it also has evil accompaniments. If I am right, now that young master's sword soul is awakened, people in that place will certainly be aware of it, and they will soon come to kill the young master." Kill the young master, just as they dealt with the master that year. The woman had a trace of killing intent in her eyes. "Yes, so we must act immediately." Elder Hong's voice was solemn, and he immediately drew a letter out from his arm. "Go at once, and send this letter to the one in Golden Dragon Palace. He must be informed as quickly as possible." "Yes." She nodded solemnly and took the letter. She set off without hesitation. In the meantime, in Qianyang Province Qingdong Commandery, in a slightly secret chamber, by candlelight, a man with a purple coat sat solemnly reading the sealed letter before him. Suddenly, the door of the chamber was opened, and a black-robed man ran in quickly. "Hallmaster, there is an urgent order." The black-robed man respectfully handed him a letter. He opened the letter. The first thing he saw was a blood-colored token. The token had a word carved in clear scarlet: "Kill." A scarlet kill command. The man was surprised. The organization he belonged to was extremely powerful. People were scared to hear the name of the organization everywhere in the Qianzong dynasty. There were many orders for organizing top-level people, such as the bronze, silver, and golden killing commands. But the Scarlet Kill Command was the supreme command of the organization. Only the mysterious leader of their organization could release it. A Scarlet Kill meant that it had to be done regardless of the price, as long as they could kill the enemy. Even if all the experts who were sent to assassinate the target would die. The Scarlet Kill Command had been handed down only a few times since the organization's creation. Pass down the order. Make all assassins above Silver Mask level come back immediately. No matter what they are doing now. Even if they've accepted a task, make them give up the task or delay it immediately. If anybody hasn't returned within 3 days of receiving this order, he will be killed. The man sneered. "Yes." The black-robed man nodded respectfully. He continued to look at the letter. "Bashui Commander, Sword Marquis Mansion, Jian Wushuang. From this day on, we shall keep a close watch over our target's actions. We must not let him out of our sight before we are ready to make our move." Sword Marquis Mansion. It had been 5 days since the battle ended. During the past 5 days, 2 great events had occurred in Sword Marquis Mansion. The first was that the mansion master, Jian Xinhong, had appointed Jian Wushuang as the new sword pavilion master. No one was surprised. After all, 2 months ago Jian Xinhong had appointed Jian Meng'er as the sword pavilion master. He had been preparing to hold the official ceremony after the token battle. But, during that battle, Jian Meng'er had been defeated by Jian Wushuang directly, in front of many people. Plus, Jian Wushuang himself belonged to Sword Pavilion. His swordsmanship was unique, and he took over as Sword Pavilion Master in a more convincing way than Jian Meng'er. As for the second thing, it was the Great Elder of Red Martial Hall. Jian Lan had resigned from his position after the battle and left Sword Marquis Mansion to travel far and wide. This caused a great stir in Sword Marquis Mansion, but it was understandable. After the battle, because of her talent, no one had said anything to Jian Meng'er. She had followed her great master to go to the Chenyuan sword sect and cultivate. But Jian Lan was a joke in Sword Marquis Mansion, and a lot of people were stealthily sarcastic towards him. Jian Lan had been aware, resolutely resigning his position as Great Elder, leaving Sword Marquis Mansion. It had been a good choice. In the courtyard, Jian Wushuang was practicing his swordsmanship alone. Sword light was moving, and it was confusing. For a long time, Jian Wushuang stood with his sword. "It's been 5 days, but my body still hasn't really recovered," Jian Wushuang said secretly. The soul-devouring secret skill had done so much damage to his body that it had been in a state of extreme weakness since then. It had not returned to peak condition yet. "Well." Jian Wushuang raised his head suddenly and looked at the yard. 4 old figures came in, the 4 great elders of Sword Pavilion, headed by Elder Hong. Elder Hong, Senior Yuan, Senior Qing, Senior Li, Jian Wushuang called out immediately. Chapter 35. Follow me. Young Pavilion Master. The 4 great elders walked before Jian Wushuang, then Elder Hong said, "We are here to thank you. Sword Pavilion would have fallen into the hands of Red Marshal Hall if you hadn't defeated Jian Meng'er." Senior Yuan said, "Yes, you were magnificent, young Pavilion Master. It was amazing that it only took 2 months for you to surpass Jian Meng'er. You are definitely the son of the Pavilion Master." Senior Qing proudly said, When I heard that you, young Pavilion Master, would have a battle with Jian Meng'er, I was sure that you could defeat her." Senior Li refuted him at once. "You dare to say that? You were the first to say that it was impossible." Hearing the 4 great elders' words and even seeing them play with each other, Jian Wushuang smiled. His heart was full of gratification. But at the moment, Elder Hong looked at him and said, "Young Pavilion Master, you did a good job at a tough time. You held the Sword Pavilion together for us. But now you are leaving." "Leaving? Where am I going?" Jian Wushuang was surprised. With severe countenance, Elder Hong said, "You are leaving Sword Marquis Mansion and going somewhere else." Jian Wushuang felt a little puzzled. But why? Because Elder Hong was silent, not knowing how to answer. A cold voice suddenly rang out, "Stop your nonsense." As Jian Wushuang turned and looked around, a green-clothed woman appeared behind him. The green-clothed woman was graceful, with black hair and a veil covering her face. Although people could not see her actual appearance, one could tell that the woman was very beautiful just by looking into her eyes. The green-clothed woman seemed charming. However, there was a faint smell on her body. All the good was gone. Jian Wushuang frowned and asked, "Who are you?" He was sure that he had never seen this woman. Elder Hong noticed the green-clothed woman and didn't feel any sense of amazement. He said, "If you're here, that means that the others should be ready." "Yes," she nodded, stepping toward Jian Wushuang. "There is little time to say so much. You come with me at once." "Follow you." Jian Wushuang showed alertness, and sword essence began to gather in his body. "Ridiculous." The woman laughed and moved around. Jian Wushuang did not react as the woman patted his forehead with her palm. At this moment a majestic spiritual power poured into his body. It blocked his 8 extra channels and then seized his hands. Jian Wushuang wanted to rebel, but he realized, to his horror, that he could not control his spiritual power. Jian Wushuang was frightened. Gold core. She has at least cultivated a gold core. She might even be an expert of the gold core realm. Elder Hong said loudly, "Young Pavilion Master, you can go with her. She won't hurt you." Jian Wushuang tried to say something, but all of a sudden, boom! A terrifying roar came from close behind, immediately followed by a large amount of spiritual power. "Who are you? How dare you behave atrociously in my Sword Marquis Mansion?" A voice immediately rang through the sky. Jian Wushuang recognized that the voice, it was the Sword Marquis Mansion Master, Jian Xinhong. "They're coming," said the green-clothed woman, who had already put Jian Wushuang behind her back. "I'll take him and hand everything else over to you. The 4 of us are ready." Elder Hong and other 3 great elders looked at each other, and each took out a scarlet pill. They did not hesitate to swallow the scarlet pill. Blind old man. Another person came to the courtyard, a graceful middle-aged woman. She was the proprietress of the wine shop where Elder Hong had gone before. Zhu Jun. Noticing that someone had come in, Elder Hong became nervous. The woman smiled. "Nothing else to say? Give me a scarlet pill." Elder Hong frowned. "No. Are you not willing or you do not have any?" The woman, Zhu Jun, smiled and then took out a scarlet pill. "Fortunately, I prepared one for myself." After finishing her words, she swallowed it quickly, not noticing Elder Hong's expression. Elder Hong sighed. "Zhu Jun, why would you do this?" "Blind old man. Do you know why I always call you a blind old man? Because you can't see how I've felt about you for so many years," Zhu Jun smiled. "But it does not matter anymore. Although we have not really been together, at least we can die together. Elder Hong took a deep look at Zhu Jun and nodded heavily. The 4 great elders of the Sword Pavilion and Zhu Jun had swallowed a scarlet pill. The aura surrounding the 5 people instantly soared up, directly reaching an unprecedented level. Gold Core. 5 people had all reached the primordial gold core realm. Elder Hong's aura was the strongest, reaching the point of the profound gold core realm. This. Jian Wushuang was completely confused. What's happening? What's the matter? Who broke into the Sword Marquis mansion? Who is the green-clothed woman with a veil? What kind of pill did the 4 elders swallow? Why did their strength suddenly improve so much? And most importantly, why did they swallow this pill? Why do they look like they are going to die? Jian Wushuang had so many doubts. He did not understand what had happened. All of this was too sudden. There had been no signs at all. Ji Wei, I will leave the young master to you. Elder Hong turned red and growled with a trace of madness in his eyes. Ji Wei looked at the 5 people. 2 words that were so heavy came out of the mouth of the green-clothed woman slowly. Take care. After finishing her words, Ji Wei did not hesitate to turn around, taking Jian Wushuang away at full speed and sweeping out of Sword Marquis mansion. Just as Ji Wei turned and left, a wide roar of rage rang through Sword Marquis mansion. Ha ha, you blood feather tower bastards, prepare to go to hell. Well, you 5 old people. How dare you block us? Kill them. Kill them. As the roar of rage echoed, the whole Sword Marquis mansion was caught in a terrible war. Deadly amounts of spiritual power soared through the area. While all this was happening, Jian Wushuang was totally at a loss. What on earth is happening? Chapter 36. Blood Feather Tower. While Sword Marquis mansion was in upheaval, something happened in the gladiator arena. Sir. A black-robed servant came anxiously to Bai Chong and passed him a note. After taking a glance at the note, Bai Chong's face turned grim. Some impressive words were written on the note. Jian Wushuang is in danger. Please quickly come to Tranquility Forest, 10 miles from the border, to save him. Bai Chong then looked at the signature. Smile allure, Ji Wumeng. Ji Wumeng. A look of fear showed in Bai Chong's eyes, and then he immediately ordered, all golden-robed servants follow me, right now. A moment later, 7 figures full of energy rushed out from the gladiator arena. Each of these 7 figures had reached the gold core realm, among which leader Bai Chong ranked at the peak of the gold core realm. Tranquility Forest, 10 miles from the border. Several figures stood in the treetops, waiting quietly. Here they come, said a burly man with a head of disorganized hair. He followed them with his eyes. Whoosh! Ji Wei appeared at the top of one of the big trees, with Jian Wushuang right behind her. Ji Wei said indifferently, then I'll leave it to you. Ji Wei, you didn't tell us before that our task was to fight against Blood Feather Tower, said an aloof and thin young man. How about double rewards after you finish the task? Ji Wei looked around with her cold and gloomy eyes. Okay. Suddenly the experts who had felt dissatisfied before were nodding their heads with desire in their eyes. I need you guys to obstruct the experts from Blood Feather Tower for as long as you can. I also found some extra helpers for you. After saying that, Ji Wei looked up to the sky where 7 figures rapidly skimmed over towards them. Golden Dragon guards from the Golden Dragon Palace. When Bai Chong came to Tranquility Forest, he not only saw those extraordinary figures on the treetops but also noticed gold rings on their index fingers. Each of them wore a gold ring, the symbol of the Golden Dragon Guard. Sir Bai Chong. Upon seeing their arrival, Jian Wushuang felt pleasantly surprised, even though he was under the complete control of Ji Wei. Jian Wushuang. Bai Chong glanced at him and then looked at Ji Wei with eyes suddenly becoming strange. Are you Ji Wumeng? No, you are not her. You are Ji Wei. Yes, it's me. Ji Wei nodded and said sternly, Bai Chong, when my elder sister was alive, she was very kind to you and my brother-in-law also took you as his confidant. Now their son is in danger, won't you help him? Bai Chong's face darkened and he looked at Jian Wushuang with a serious expression. Take him away right now. As for the people from Blood Feather Tower, I will try to obstruct them for a while, Bai Chong said in a low voice. Thank you so much. After thanking him, Ji Wei looked at the burly man beside her and said, Bu, let's go. Yes. The burly man nodded and immediately took Jian Wushuang, jumping into the forest with Ji Wei. But just as they jumped into the forest, a chipper laugh burst between the sky and the earth. Ha ha, Ji Wuming, where are you taking that little guy? Don't you want to take the antidote? Only I have the antidote, so you'd better stay. The voice was full of evil. After hearing the words, Ji Wei felt a slight chill but didn't intend to stop. After the laughter, a loud roar burst out. It was obvious that the two sides had collided. Golden Dragon Guard. Men from the gladiator arena? How dare you intercept our Blood Feather Tower? Humph, bastards of Blood Feather Tower. Do you think that our gladiator arena fears you? Kill. The war broke out instantly with roaring and shouting. In the forest. Are those people who want to kill me? Jian Wushuang could see several black-robed men behind them when he turned his head. Most of them wore silver masks and just a few wore golden masks. What the hell is going on? Those people are all here. What about Sword Marquis Mansion and Elder Hong? Jian Wushuang shouted anxiously. Shut up, Ji Wei shouted loudly. She continued, unsympathetically, these people are coming for you. Their arrival here means the battle in Sword Marquis Mansion has already finished. As for Elder Hong and the others, they are dead. Dead. Jian Wushuang was stunned. All 5 of them swallowed scarlet pills. It enhances their strength quickly by consuming the person's life. A warrior can only swallow 1 scarlet pill in their lifetime because they are doomed to die after taking it. What? Jian Wushuang was shocked. Finally, he understood why their strength had enhanced so much before. They had swallowed a scarlet pill and paid for it with their lives. Why? Why? Jian Wushuang could not help roaring. Why? Because you awoke the Sword Soul, and that's how things are now, said Ji Wei. Sword Soul? What is Sword Soul? Jian Wushuang still felt baffled. He had no idea what she was talking about. It seems that you haven't noticed. Right, you have just awoken it. It's normal that you don't know. But once your strength increases in the future you will notice the existence of Sword Soul, said Ji Wei. Do those people want to kill me just because I have awoken Sword Soul? What the hell is Sword Soul? Jian Wushuang roared. I don't know what Sword Soul is because neither I nor the others have awoken it. The only one who has awoken it is your father, Jian Nantian, Ji Wei said in an uncaring voice. Haven't you always wanted to know why your father left 4 years ago and disappeared without any news? What? Jian Wushuang glared and said, was it because he also awoke Sword Soul? Yes, Ji Wei nodded. But you are different. Your father awoke Sword Soul during the Gold Core period. It didn't take long before Blood Feather Tower came to kill your father after they heard that your father had awoken his Sword Soul. But they underestimated your father, which allowed him to escape by a fluke. And then your father was afraid of incriminating you and Sword Marquis Mansion, so he left and started living like a fugitive. And now? Jian Wushuang hurriedly asked. Now? Your father has been caught by Blood Feather Tower. I don't know whether he is alive or not. Ji Wei shook her head with a wry smile. You only care about your father. Don't you want to ask about your mother? Your mother. While speaking, Ji Wei abruptly had a quiver and her extremely beautiful eyes soon became scarlet with violence. And with that successful mastery of new resources and techniques, we conclude Chapter 36. Wushuang has achieved another major cultivation breakthrough, making him significantly stronger than he was just days ago. The Academy recognizes his new power and immediately gives him a high-stakes, dangerous mission, a trial that will test his newfound abilities against threats far beyond the Academy grounds. The resources are secured. The power is attained. Now, the real trial begins. Join us next time for Chapters 37, 38, 39, and 40. where Wushuang embarks on his first official academy mission, confronting hidden conspiracies and powerful external foes. Thank you for listening to Panda Audiobooks. If you are ready for Wushuang's next grand adventure, please subscribe and hit that notification bell.